Hello, this is Danberg SC. This is the first of a video series called 100回 make, or 100 losses. The purpose of this video, as written below, is I'm going to try to learn from my mistakes that I'm playing in shogi. My teacher says that you have to lose 100 times in order for you to finally understand a strategy. So I'm going to start logging my losses and trying to learn and do a deep dive study about each one, and I want to share that with you. I'm going to explain this in English. I'm doing my training and everything for shogi in Japan, so all of my matches and training is in Japanese. So the terms I'm going to be using are in Japanese. I'm sorry, it's, you learn some of the piece names and you'll be able to figure it out. But I think the information should be fairly easy to understand. I'm trying to promote the global learning of shogi, and I want to share my journey for trying to promote up into my different leagues in Japan. So right now I am Hachikyu, which is 8th class. It's one of the lowest leagues you can be in shogi right now, so I'm still very new, and we're going to continue. So stay tuned. This is the one for ibisha. So that's if you play rook as here. So I always play ibisha, and today's match is against what's called migi shiken bisha. So when they take their rook and they move it over to here, and they play on this row. So first off is what do we think about when we're playing. So when I'm playing right now in my lower league of Hachikyu, I think of basically these things below. So do I have a plan against what my opponent is doing? And in the match or after the match and I lose, I think, okay, could I play my plan? Can I play my plan? Each move that they do, I think, can I do my plan still or do I have to change my plan? And then why or why not? And then after the match, I try to figure out where was my first mistake? And then I try to figure out what can I do to not make that mistake happen again. So if I make the first mistake at move 5, next time I play I want to make the first mistake at move 7. So every little game I play is a little bit better. So let's first talk about the plan. So very quickly, I have basically 3 plans that I think of when I'm playing shogi. So first is my plan if they're playing what's called ibisha or sol ibisha. So my strategy over here for my attack is called the San Nanagin Senpo. So San 3 Nana 7, so 3-7 silver attack, San Nanagin Senpo. And this attack I can attack up here, I can attack up here, I can bring the Keima forward to attack, I can do all kinds of strategies over here. So this is my standard attack I try to do regardless of what's going on. But my castle changes depending on what my opponent is doing. So if my opponent is also playing ibisha, that means his hisha or his rook will be in one of these 3 spaces. If it's in any of these 3 spaces, I try to make this castle, which is called the Yagura. This is the castle that I always try to make. So this is my plan. If I'm going into something, I want to try to make the Yagura. The Yagura castle. I want to try to do the San Nanagin Senpo, and I'm going to try to beat my opponent. Now, if my opponent plays something called furibisha, where the rook is shifted over to either the center or one of these 3 spaces over here, my castle I have to change. I'm not going to get into why in this video. If you're interested, I can do another video about it. But basically, this castle is better if they're going to try to attack in this direction or come down and then attack over here, which is why I build this castle. This is called the boat castle or the funegakoi. But if you see, my actual attack has not changed. So attack is the same, just the castle changes. That's all it's different. And then finally, if they play what's called mukai bisha, where they put the hisha directly in line with yours, I play a slightly different strategy. I do what's called, my castle is called the hidari mino gakoi. And it's just, there's a popular castle, they'll probably make the same one, but this is my castle that I use, and I try to do the same attack as well. So this is my plan. So let's go back to the first game, the actual game that I played today. Do I have a plan against what my opponent is doing? Yes, I do. I have a plan about what my opponent is doing depending on what happens. So let's get right into the game. So first move is, again, I'm trying to do the Yagura castle, which I just showed you. So my first move is always 7 Nananokufu. He moves this piece, which shows me, okay, he's going to play ibisha. He's going to play the same side of line. He wouldn't be doing this and then move this way over here. That doesn't make sense. So he pushes this forward. I'm assuming that he's going to play it down this line. I'm thinking, okay, great, I can play what I want. So next move, I'm just doing Yagura things. I'm not going to go into all the details about these moves. I'm just going to explain it a little. So I'm doing my standard moves for setting up Yagura Castle. And now this is the first move that I don't know. So one of the first things that I learned today in this for about Ibisha tai Migi Shiken Bisha is we have to be careful of Rook 4th-file. Roku means that we have the potential for them to go into migi shiken bisha. If they push this silver forward and they bring this rook over here, then we're in migi shiken bisha land, and I have a very unique way to absorb this attack, which I didn't know about until today. So the first lesson we learned is if your opponent pushes this pawn early in the game, we're at move 8 right now, if he pushes the pawn early in the game, there's a chance that he's going to do migi shiken bisha, and you have to be careful. So I don't know this. I'm still just playing my standard move set. We're just moving, we're just playing, we're just playing, we're just playing, and now he brings the Kama forward. So at this point of the game, I'm realizing, okay, this looks more and more to me like he's going to bring this rook over here, he's going to open up this pawn here, and he's going to focus all of his attacks down on this square here, on 6-6. So I have to be prepared for this. So my reaction is, okay, well, he's about to start his attack, so I need to get some board control. So I push my pawn forward, he brings this forward, I'm going to move my king forward, I'm waiting for him to start attacking me, because I like to, when they push their attack, I like to push my attack. So if he was, for example, to push this pawn now, I would push this forward. So until then, I'm going to try to make a castle. This is just what I'm doing. It's not the best thing to do. Don't worry about it yet. So this is my first big mistake, is I bring my silver or my gin up to 7-7. So the whole purpose of migi shiken bisha is to attack this Kama down to here to threaten this square. This move is exactly what migi shiken bisha is trying to do. They're trying to pull this silver out of the way, so this is unprepared and you just can get in. So my first mistake is playing anything in 7-7. Your opponent, if they're playing migi shiken bisha, if they bring these two forward like this, they want you to put pieces in this square. You have to be careful of that. That's the second thing I learned from today. So in this position, he starts attack. He brings his silver forward at this point. I bring my silvers forward, and this is my second blunder. If you can see right now, his next move, he brings Kama forward, and now I'm getting forked on my two silvers. So this is an issue I have. Again, I'm a Hachiki right now. We're trying to improve, and we're just going through that process together. So this is really where I start making a lot of mistakes. But even before I bring this silver forward, if we look, just like I was saying, so at this point of the game, instead of bringing his silver forward, if he just leaps his Kama forward instead, he's still attacking this. If I was to move up here, he just pushes this pawn forward. Now he can promote his Hisha over here. There's not a lot I can really do. He can open this up and start attacking down into this corner, and I can't bring anything back down to this square because this is here now. So this is a really nasty move that I needed to avoid by just not playing anything in 7-7. So if you learn anything from this video, if your opponent brings these two pieces forward like this, do not play anything in this square. That should be what you learn from this video. So let's continue. I bring these forward. This is where he jumps forward. I bring a silver forward. This is the only thing I can do at this point. He promotes back, and I move back forward. So again, I've put another piece down into this square that we shouldn't be putting pieces in. This is, again, an issue as I'm having. So at this point, I'm already down a silver. I've lost the silver for Kama on my side. So I'm already kind of not doing well. I try to survive a little bit longer. I just try to move forward. I just try to take up board space at this point. I'm already lost, but I just wanted to show you kind of what's going on. And this is where I forfeit the game, basically. Where I don't forfeit. I play a lot more hands, but this is where I'm going to stop in my discussion today. So when I put this forward, he was able to drop the silver behind my gold, and everything kind of goes crashing down. So what we're going to talk about today is the correct way to deal with this. So what we need to do is I'm going to set this back to move 18 before I make this blunder here, before I put this move in. I want to set the board back to this position. So now, this is the proper way. This is what's called kind of joseki, or standard moves for if you're playing Yagura versus migi shiken bisha. So let's begin again. So again, very similar to my game that I just showed you. We open up with these two pieces. I move there. He opens this rank up. This is where they push the center piece. So all of this is still very just standard. This side is trying to make the Yagura, which I showed. This side is trying to set up the attack for migi shiken bisha. So this is where we talked about roku yonfu. You have to be careful of this move because it's showing that, okay, it could be potentially migi shiken bisha. My game, I didn't have the pawn forward, so I didn't need to worry about this next gambit, but you have to be very careful if they push this pawn right now. So if you must do this move, because, for example, if you do, for example, from this, if you jump something like here and you push this pawn and you take this pawn, you just lose this piece for free. So you can't do that. You have to you want to be able to set this piece there. So after that, he's going to move his silver forward. Now this is there's a lot of red flags about this is going to be Migishi Kembisha at this point, so you have to be aware. And now another very important move at this point of the game, you have to do this silver jump, because right again, you have to be very careful of this pawn push at this time of the game. So right now, if we were example to do okay, yeah, sorry, I just showed that. Yeah, so we have to bring the silver forward. This is an important move. I'll explain it to you in a little bit. Basically, if you move like a gold forward here, and then you push, if you take, you can still do this and take it back, but now I have this drop, which is really nasty again. So this is why I was going to skip this, but I think this is important too. So let's step back, sorry. This is my first time making a video like this, so I apologize if I'm jumping around. I learned a lot today from this. So basically, you have to make sure that you're protecting this, but you don't blunder this. This relationship between these two pieces is very important in Migishi Kembisha. So at this point, you have to bring the gold over here. If you don't, you'll just lose to this gambit. That's not good, so you need to bring the gold forward. But even if you bring the gold forward, if you do something stupid like bring this gold forward, again, if you take the gambit, you've got this fork, which is not good. So instead of doing gold forward, you need to be doing silver forward. So when this silver comes down, we'll step back. So when this silver comes forward, this is the board that you need to be looking at. So this is a very important position of the board. Silver comes down forward, and now you bring up your gold. Now everything works. You can't do any gambits anymore. You can't do any changes and drop anything. Everything's protected at this point. Now it's fine. So at this point, he's going to bring over the Hisha to set in stone Migishi Kembisha here. So at this point, you bring up your gold, and then if he pushes, we have two major lines. So one major line is he pushes the pawn. The other major line is he's going to start his castle. These are the two major lines that you have. So let's do what's called the Q-sen line first. If he pushes his pawn, what do you do? So if he pushes your pawn, don't take is first. Don't take. Bring up the silver first, and I'll explain why. So at this point, if he takes yours, then you take silver. You take with silver. If he tries to gambit you as well, this is an important part. You can run away to 4 areas. Again, if you run back to 7-7, this Kama move is coming, so you don't want to run back to 7-7. The proper move is 5-5. 5-5 is the proper move. You trade off the silver. If he drops the silver here, you just move up. His attack is finished. He has no pieces. If you look at the top, he has no pieces in his hand. He has no way to really start an attack anymore without me just being able to take pieces and profit. His attack is finished at this point. So this is really good for me. So at this point of the game, again, once you bring up gold to here, if he attacks you with this pawn, you should be thinking, great, this is really good for me. I'm going to win. So let's do the next line where if he goes and he's going to start making his castle. So if he's going to start making his castle, you start making your castle too, but you need to defend. So regardless of if he pushes this pawn first or if he moves the silver first, this silver comes to here. You have to finish your defense. So this is a very interesting, it's kind of like an inverted Yagura. So the Yagura would have this silver here. Instead, you put the silver down to here and you leave it there if they're doing Migishi Kembisha. So let's continue. He's going to make a castle. I'm going to make a castle. He's going to make a castle. I'm going to make a castle. He's going to push a pawn to open up his line for this Kama. He's going to bring an extra force because I have everything here. He needs more pieces. I'm also going to start my attack. So after we're done with our castle moves here, this is where we're going to start our attacking moves. And we're going to begin putting pressure on each other. If I've hit the center line, he needs to move 3-3 forward, or I'm just going to promote, and it's not going to be good for him at all. So he moves that forward. At this point, we can push another pawn to open up the path for our Kama. That's what we want to do at this point as well. And now he gambits. Now the gambit begins. So at this point, let's see. If we take, it's okay at this point in the game to take the pawn. You can finally take the pawn with ease. You're not going to have a hanging gold. You're not going to have a fork or anything like that. At this point in the game, if he pushes the pawn forward, you're able to take. There is. I mean, you can start your attack, you can start your attack if you want to bring. No, that's a bad move. Don't do that. You can start your attack if you would like and let him take. Bring the silver forward. You can do all kinds of gambits again. You don't need to take it, but I'll show you the taking way. So if you take, he can trade the kaku forward. because you've opened that line. Take with the king. He can drop here. You Of course, my headphones die right in the middle. So you could just drop right back in this position here. And then if he takes again, you could take with the Kama, and now he can't really jump forward anymore because you could just take back. So this is kind of, if he was really, if he takes and he's being really aggressive, he just really wants to make this trade, you're okay at this point. You can just block back. You've got everything locked down in the center. And then your next moves, what you should be thinking about as me, is moving this forward here and moving that forward there. These are going to be my next series of moves. So I want to bring this silver forward, I want to bring this forward, and I want to try to do some sort of a, well, not from if he has that there, but from basically this position. From this position, whenever I can, I want to bring this forward. I want to start attacking here. So it would be, if I can do, let's just say he makes this move. I'll go here. He's going to make a trash move for us. He's going to do this. If I can go here, take, even if he drops here, we can drop up here, and we've got all kinds of, we've got all kinds of profit again. This is kind of the moves that I want to be thinking about. So again, if we look at lessons learned, what are we going to be careful about in this game? Games from now on when we play is we are going to have a red flag as soon as Rokuyon-fu is played. And then after that, we are never going to put anything in this 7-7 square. Nothing plays in 7-7 square ever if you're against it. Another thing you don't want to do is you don't want to move the kaku back, and like in this position here, you don't want to drop this back and try to like play these kind of lines if they're doing migishi kambisha, because you need to be able to defend this square. So don't remove this kaku is another important thing to do. We need to avoid as much as possible this gambit. No, sorry, not this gambit. We need to avoid as much as possible having this over here. These kind of moves where they lock the king out. Even at kind of this point of the game, even if he was to push here at this time and you take here, he can't drop here anymore. But this is still, you want to put you want to put this guy over here. This is called a wall gold. So you don't want to have this all. This is not good at this point of the game. You don't want to do that, which is why at this point you kind of want to hold off and not have to take that fight. So let's look one more time at my game. So this is the game that I played against my opponent. This is move 18 of my opponent. I'm going to go to move 14 versus the computer generated, not computer generated, the standard move set, the Joseki of this. So my position, I have this is in the wrong spot, but these four are in the right place. These four are in the right place. My game, I'm attacking a little bit farther. He's got some similarities in his is a little bit slower, but I mean it's basically the same thing. I'm doing a decent job of attacking, but again, in my game, my big issue was this move, moving into 7-7. This is where I started falling and failing. So what we're going to do next time we're playing against Migishi Kambisha is not do moves in 7-7, and we're going to try to play better. So I wanted to make a 10-minute video. We're up to 17 minutes. It's 18 minutes. That's way longer than I wanted to do. This is my first attempt at doing one of these. It's not the best. It's not the cleanest. But guess what? I have 100 more for this specific strategy coming up. And I'm going to do one for each type of the strategy that I go against. I'm going to lose 100 against each game. And we're going to learn this together. Hope you enjoyed this. Hope this is entertaining for you. If it's not, I'm sorry. I'm still going to be making them. Trying to make some English content for shogi is something I've been working on for a while. And we're going to continue on. So thank you very much. And I will see you guys in my next loss. Thank you.